Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here, and today I want to talk about the future of the format and what is up to come, right? With the new ban list, new product releases that are going to be coming, the new format is going to be evolving pretty consistently, and I want to talk about one of the top decks that I think is pretty guaranteed to be up there. I don't think it's going to be a blowout deck, but I think it's definitely going to be one of the strongest contenders of next format. And I wanted to just talk about that. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. Please subscribe if you enjoy, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday. So the deck we're going to go over today is going to be Labrynth, and I'm going to specifically show Dinka Boy's list from third place of the YCS. If you want to see his profile and his full explanation of the deck, it's really good. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's right here on Team Raid and Trade's channel. Please go check it out. It's very good. But so this is his list though that he played. I have it here. I made it myself on here just so that we can, for educational purposes, and look at it, because in my opinion, the way that the format is going to go, I think that this will probably be the Labrynth deck that's going to be looked at for a reference for a lot of the other Labrynth decks that are going to be coming out in the future. This is going to be a good baseline for a lot of decks, and I want to explain why, for that, because if anyone knows, the best types of decks, usually, one of the best types of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is decks that have in-engine things that can do stuff on both players' turns. So it means, when I say that, I mean things that interact on both players' turns, and that can happen on turn 0, even if you go second. So it's very frustrating at times because of how good that is. A recent example of this would be something of Tyroman's Havness when your opponent had that, or Herald of Orange Light with a Yugioh or a Kelbeck, and they could make a full board on your turn 0. Now, this isn't to that extent of making a full board on the turn 0, but this is definitely a strong suited position to have a lot of interaction on turn 0 in engine. That makes a lot of viability for this deck so strong, even going into the next format. I think there will be changes to the deck, but it will definitely still be relevant, especially with the hand traps that you have to play for this. So we'll see. But Labrynth's one of those decks where people will not expect it, then it does really well because people aren't playing against it. And then when everyone's playing against it, it goes back down, and then it comes back up, and then it just does that. It seems like every event, like every other event, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think this is just a really strong suited time for the deck. And I have this organized in a way where the first 16 cards here are cards that interact on your opponent's turn, and it can interact in your opponent's turn. If you really want to call it 19, you can call it 19 as well, because if you have this plus a furniture, it is like crazy being able to reveal top 3, hit a trap, set it, and then interact on your opponent. This deck was built, I feel like for that reason, especially with Arias as well in mind, like both Blackjack and Arias, keeping it so that if you have a normal trap in hand, you can use Arias, and if you reveal a normal trap in the top of your deck, you can use Blackjack, and it just works very fluently, and I really like the list. I think this is such a clean way to play this deck, and it was really well thought through, and I really can't recommend checking out this video enough because it breaks down all the combos and the lines and the explanations. So just really quickly, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, 3 Chandelier, 3 Stovey, 1 Kuklock, 3 Arias, 3 Backjack, 1 Lady, 3 Ariana, 2 Lady, 3 Big Welcome, 2 Welcome, 1 Labrynth Setup, 3 Karma Cannon, 2 Ice Dragon's Prisons, 3 Trap Trick, 1 Punishment, and 1 Labrynth. This is the main thing I wanted to focus on, was the main deck. The extra deck is important for stuff like the Punishment, for sending the Chimera stuff to help play around certain things. But overall, the main deck I think is where the really intuitive thought process was put into it. Especially innovations like Trap Trick and Labrynth Setup, they really do make a big difference when playing this in those grindy games, and the lines that you can do to set other normal trap cards face down, and not just you can run out of things like Big Welcome Labyrinths and stuff like that. But the also upcoming, on top of this deck having insane interaction on turn 0, with being able to activate Daruma Cannon on turn 0, Trap Trick on turn 0, Ice Dragon's Prison on turn 0, is the inclusion of Transaction Rollback, which is coming. This card is really strong. That's the best way I can describe it. This card is going to be very prominent in the meta, very good, and makes a lot of cards that I don't want to say shouldn't be good, but this card's going to make a lot of cards good and frustrating. There's going to be a lot of frustrating scenarios with this card. And do I personally think it's that good for the game? Not really. I don't really find this card healthy in some scenarios, and maybe we'll see why in the future. But this is definitely a card that is going to impact the meta. It is going to be around, and you need to keep an eye out for it, because when it comes out in, I believe, the next side set, it's going to be a hell of a push for Labrynth specifically, and there's going to be new innovations for Labrynth, but I think it's going to stick to some kind of a core of something like this. There's still going to be the furnitures, there's going to be the normal traps, there's going to be Arius, and these are all cards that still interact, and then you get to do even more now with the rollback. So this is just something I wanted to highlight and talk about just a little bit, just to show you guys why I think this deck is going to be so good. And on top of that, just for more icing on the cake, this deck has a lot of like room for some like non-engine that you can put up here with the Imperms and the Ashes. You can switch these, like maybe in the next format. Everyone's talking about Ghost Bell being in the new lineup for hand traps, so you could probably swap out Imperms for Ghost Bells. I know Imperms a trap card and Labrynth's like trap card, but Bell being more impactful, and then the interactions with Nibiru plus the Chandelier, Phantasme especially going to be amazing, going to draw your pieces. Like, this deck has so many good interactions that I really think that it, like, a really good Labrynth player, like, that's big preface here. Labrynth is not an easy deck to pilot. Managing those resources properly, where to use your specific interruptions properly. It's very similar to like the Runic, like where you have to think. You don't have like these wide hits that you can use to hit everything. You have to specifically interact at these very certain scenarios. So you have to know how your opponent's deck works, and you have to know how your deck works, where you can keep going on the following turn as well. So if you're a Labrynth player, how do you plan on using transaction rollback on release? Because this is going to be coming out very soon, and there's a lot of ways you can use it, and I know there's a lot of talk about it in this deck specifically. So yeah, I am really curious what you guys think. Please leave all of your suggestions in the future formats coming up, and what other decks you think are going to be really good to see in the upcoming format in the tier 1 status, because I definitely think this is going to be one. It's, in my eyes, it's like a given because of how this deck operates. But again, I could be wrong. I'm only a person with an opinion. So I'm excited to see where it goes. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the little discussion. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.